We're back here at Waikumete. We're here to meet a special guest. Her name's Kathy. So let's go have a chat. Hi Kath, how are you?
How are you today?
It's nice to see you. Look, you know, you're part of Discover Waikumete. How did that start?
Well, I had been with friends of Waikumete, and my interest was more in helping people to find the graves. Simply because I had been in here one time with a friend, and she told me the cemetery was filling up. And I said, well, what are all these empty graves? And she said, they're unmarked graves. And I found myself thinking, well, they had lives too. And they were just as interesting as a lot of the others, and a lot of these stories should be told. They shouldn't be forgotten because they're unmarked. And I wanted to know more about those people's lives, and particularly the unmarked ones, and trying to find my way around, I realised that I needed to use the marked graves in order to find them. So started doing charts and keeping them, you know, taking their names and putting their stuff up, and it was suggested that perhaps what I was doing was something that should be shared. So when I was with the friends, we were doing walks, and the people doing the walks were getting a little bit discontented as well, and when I said, I'm going to concentrate on what I'm, you know, with what I'm doing, and they turned around and they said, I'm coming, every one of them. What name did you think? And they said, Discover, because it's about finding and showing the wonder, you know, the flora, the fauna, all the wonderful things that Waikumete is. So they came along and joined me, and they've been very, very supportive and as you've seen for yourself.
Yeah, because I see all the time taking photos of the headstones. What's the reason for that?
The reason is to show what the headstone looks like. We actually do these as you're walking down the row, you know, so that people can identify the graves around. We will never get them all, but we try to show as many as possible. It's an ongoing thing. It's not something I'm going to be able to finish, but it's certainly something that I'm hoping that people will see the value in and will want to continue on after once I can't. Preferably to come in beforehand so I can show them.
So how old is Discover Waikumete?
I think it's about 4 years. I don't know for certain.
I've been coming here for years. It's like Waikumete is like my backyard, you know. I used to come here, play with my friends. I used to ride my dirt bike up at the water tank up there. So, you know, it's like a playground for me. But what is the history of Waikumete?
It was opened in 1886. Pretty much, I suppose, a knee-jerk reaction, although there had been other offers around, to the Anglican area in the Simon Street being closed because there was no more burial sites there for sale, and so they really had to get to work. Glen Eden, I think it was known as Waikumete at the time. It was planned, or they did have a railway station coming through. And this being such a big area, which was actually pretty much gunland, and they started up across the top along the Glen Eden side. This leads to something that's actually quite interesting for people looking for their graves. The far corner was the main entrance. People looking for and everything starts at that side. Row 1 starts on that side every time. Along here, where it's a road, people come in and they expect this row here to be row 1. Row 1 is down there and plot 1 is in this corner, simply because, you know, to keep the conformity.
Yeah.
But you do find a lot of people get very confused, and it's understandable. I've done it myself.
Yes. Because I understand is that they used to put the bodies on the train from town and transport them here to the Glendon train station and then offload the bodies there.
Not all of them. Not very many seemed to come by train. Certainly it happened during the influenza epidemic. In fact, it got to the stage where it was the only way that influenza victims were to come into the cemetery, so that and it helped them to be able to organise things a great deal better as well. There was a lot of beautiful carriages and things. Sundays were the busiest day of the week. That was the one, simply because of the working week. A working week then was 6 days, and so they had 1 day off. And so if people wanted, you know, to have the people getting to the funeral, and also to have the biggest displays, you know, funeral displays for those who were financially able, you know, that was the day. And it was also the trains, definitely they were used a great deal for bringing the visitors in. There was one train in a week, and that one did have a carriage with a white cross on, which had the
dead bodies.
Had the dead, yeah, because not all of them were actually in caskets as well.
Oh gosh.
No, not everyone could afford to. A lot of them came, they might have had a body bag. In many cases, like in the influenza epidemic, there might have been a blanket, or there may have been nothing at all.
But how would they transfer the bodies from the train station to the cemetery?
I don't know. I know that there was a carter who, during the influenza epidemic, he was picking them up, bringing them back, and going backwards and forwards. So I dare say then there was the carriage being used, but yes, wheelbarrows were used. Horse and cart. These rows, see this row here? This row used to start there and go right to there, so they were wider. There was no trees down here, and so you could bring carriages, horse and carriage each way. There are some areas in the cemetery where I really wonder how they managed to get to dig, let alone take horses up and down. But I dare say that was part of what the pallbearers had to do.
Another question I wanted to ask is, who owns the land here?
The council.
Oh, I thought it was the Department of Conservation.
Nope. I think they may have at once. I know Agriculture and Fisheries had it at one stage, but it's council now. It's been council for quite some time.
How long has Waikumete been here?
As an open cemetery since 1886.
Kathy, I'm looking at your team over there. What are they doing?
They're taking images of the words for me, and as some of them are hard to get at or hard to see, Colin is clearing areas so that they can be photographed and we can get the words, and Lynn is cleaning some, so for the same reason.
So Jerry, tell me about the walks.
Well, we do private walks, and if you can get a group together and give us a call, we can do a specialised walk to do with your interest. If you're interested in the wildflowers, now's a good time to give us a call. We can organise a walk. Historic, murderers, soldiers, any interest you have, we can arrange a private walk for you. We also do public ones that we arrange, interest ones. Particularly the murderers walk is popular. We explain the murderers and also the victims.
Wow.
So, and there is actually quite some famous ones. So yeah, if you're interested in our murderers walk, we are looking at doing one possibly at the end of January. So we'll see how that goes.
So you have to contact Discover Waikumete?
Yes, yeah, we'll be putting that on our Facebook page. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's gone, that's got rid of it. Can't very well do, can't do,
hard work.
it was, yes.
So tell me, what are you doing? Are you just, clearing all the weeds and making
Yes.
the grave look respectable?
Yeah, I've got my secateurs in my bag, but unfortunately I can't start chopping that with this. It's not the right thing to do it with.
You used to work at the council?
At the council I did my apprenticeship there in horticulture and gardening up at the, well, it goes throughout the council doing that. I started out at the Domain Nursery, then Albert Park, Carey Street Nursery, which is their tree and shrub nursery, cricket ground work, rose gardens work. I went to all those places. Even Champion Park Golf Course, I was even there for 3 weeks.
So what made you come here and help working in the cemetery?
Well, I've quite a long association with it. First school after I came out to England in 1953, my parents was Glen Primary. When school ended, we just walk across the road into here, cross here, down near the railway line and home. I lived at the other end of Glen on West Coast Road near Waikumete Road. So I've been walking through the cemetery from the age of 6 and I'm 74 next month, so I've known it for a very long time.
Hi Sue.
Hi Fritz.
Now tell me, what happened here?
Well, it looks like
It's been vandalised.
it's been vandalised. Somebody's pushed that right over,
Sort of smashed it. Yeah.
just smashed, which is such a shame, that wanton destruction. There's no respect by the people that are doing this sort of damage. I think it's really unfortunate, and unfortunately we are seeing more and more of that as we go through the cemetery.
Because there's so many headstones all the way at the top of there that have just been smashed.
I know,
They've systematically just smashed them.
The thing is, you lose that history, which is why we like to come through here fairly regularly and take photos of rows, because you never know next time you come through whether there's going to have been damage, and at least you've got a record of it as it was at the time. But it's such a shame. It is disrespectful of the person who's died and the family members who grieved for that person. I just cannot understand the mentality of people who do that at all.